First, let's take a look at the map and the layout. Each person spawns with 2 trees. I have 1 and 2 here as well. Each person spawns with a deer pack close to their base. I have mine, and then it seems like on this map the other 2 deer packs will spawn in the middle. Big gold wise, I believe it's 1 next to your base, and then as in you can see here, 1 next to my base, and then 1 a bit further out. There is a sacred site on an island. This is interesting because I think if you control the sacred site, it's actually really hard to take back, especially if you have control of the water. There's a sacred site in the middle of the map. This is probably where a lot of the fighting will happen. There's a cliff which allows for some strategic plays. I can't tell if my opponent is lucky or not, because he actually spawns near the corner of the map where things are quite well protected. It's very hard to raid this kind of map. Well, it's very hard to raid this kind of spawn. Later on in the game, he does in fact close off this area, and then he closes off this area. So the only entry into his base was here. Harassment and any kind of raiding is kind of difficult. You could enter through here, but then you'll run straight into his TC. So looking at this map now, I just realized that the best entry for harassment is actually this path. It sits outside TC range, as you can see. So if I were to play this game again, one strategy I would do is probably try to go through this side and deny these resources. I think this game I was way too focused on securing this big gold from him, because what I was thinking of is that he's gonna run out of this gold, and then he's not gonna have any other gold sources left being boxed into his base. I placed a meditation garden on the berries because I wanted the food sources to, well, I wanted the food income to be able to produce units. An outpost comes out here. The logic was that I wanted to protect my food sources a bit more and put more people on food. And I knew that a village with the 8 villagers maximum capacity would not hold the amount of people that I would be putting on the food. Stable comes out immediately as soon as I got the food for it. The logic here is that I wanted to go to his base and raid as soon as possible. I could have went Suganus as well. I think that would have been a good this game. Going stables to raid against Ottoman and knowing that they have a military school that produces spearmen at the start is a bit of a risk. Perhaps I should have went for a archery range instead, because honestly, even though the horsemen are fast and they're able to get there, given the layout of his base, the way he walled it off, there wasn't actually much I could harass. And given that he's got 2 spears, and you know, he's probably producing even more spears to counter, it was not a very easy place to raid. I think Suganus are probably the play here, not exactly horsemen and barracks. The barracks, the logic here is that I wanted to build palace guards and fight his spears with them. As you can see here, I realized that this side of the map was closed off, and the only way in was through this front entrance. At this point in the game, I realized that if I can box this guy in and keep him from leaving his base, I might win the game. My horseman comes around to find an entry and didn't find anything. He had walled off everything by this point. My horseman comes back and spots that he's trying to wall off his base, so I immediately try to go for it and realize it was a bit of a risky play. Seeing the spears here, I knew that this was a losing fight. If I went into this, I would have lost my horsemen straight away. I started building palace guards to try counter these spearmen. In hindsight, I think an archery range would have been much better. The second logic for making a barracks was so that I had spears ready against Spahis, which is what I was expecting this game. I probably shouldn't have threw my palace guards in like this. I was getting a bit impatient and I wanted to try to push in and do some damage. I thought maybe 2 palace guards might have been okay, plus horsemen, but seeing the amount of spears he had, I think those 2 palace guards was a waste. My palace guard reinforcement comes in. I think I remember that I tried to push here, because I believe that the palace guards were just way stronger than the spears and they could tank the archers. A fight breaks out. I try to micro my horsemen away from the spears and let the palace guard do the damage. But it doesn't look like it was working out. He's just got way too many units coming out. This meter was really quite good for him. I disengaged from the fight, realizing that I was not able to push, and if I kept going I would have lost all my troops. He disengages as well, as he knows that the trade might not go favorably had he kept going. We're both quite cautious here at this point. He doesn't want to lose his only defense, and I don't want to lose my only offense. My thought process here was that I needed to make sure this gold vein right here is secured, that he cannot get to it, because I know that he only has 1 gold in the back. Now, this entire game, I could not see into his base because everything is walled off and secured. This is the most I can see, but I knew that his gold sources were definitely at the back, and same as the stone, and they would run out at one point. Now let's pause for a second here. I think the play here was to actually control water, because if I fish boomed and I got all this deep sea fish, then I could overwhelm him with an army within 5 minutes. I would say 5 minutes. I think ignoring water in this game was a mistake, because clearly I had control of his only exit out of the base. His other exits are here and here. So knowing that I had complete 99% map control, and if I just kept scouting up and down and make sure I kept him in his base, I could have easily just fish boomed, went for the fish resources here rather than build granaries. Interestingly enough, he actually wasn't taking the berries from his landmark. At this point in the game, I regret not building Suganus earlier. I think I was just way too tunnel visioned into overwhelming his forces with palace guards against the spears and palace guards against the archers. However, palace guards are actually kind of expensive in Feudal Age. If you have a look, they cost 100 food, 25 gold, so almost the same as man-at-arms. Every time I spend 100 food, that's slowing me down to Castle Age. Every time I spend 25 gold, that's also slowing my Castle Age. I think Suganus really would have been the play here. The Suganus would have been able to take down the spears. They don't do bonus damage against spears, but it would have been good still. Suganus probably would win against archers, and the palace guards or spears that I had could fight the Spahis. So I would say that once again, one of my biggest weaknesses in this game is that my army comp is not done well. As soon as I reached Castle Age, I got out Lancers in the hope that I could overwhelm him. But his defenses were just too good. You know, my horseman went into his spears. That's a mistake. I realized and I tried to bail out. The fight here didn't go too well, and I lost basically all my army. Things were starting to turn as he is now able to secure this big gold site. He's got way more chance of doing that. He comes in for a sneaky raid with his Spahis. I react poorly, as you can see. Took me a while and I lost quite a few villagers. I don't know how he got these things out, but I do know that he managed to sneak out these Spahis, right? And the thing is that we had a fight here and I lost, and he still had troops left over. Like a lot of troops. So the fact that he had enough for a raiding force is ridiculous. Here he starts to secure his big gold as he knows that this is the next gold he has to move to. I know this too, and I knew that I really needed to push this gold and secure it. I built an outpost on this side of the map so I can see his movement because I got raided and I was sure that these guys came out this way. So I wanted to keep an eye on that by building an outpost. Here my troop runs around. As you can see here, I was trying to find this group of Spahis that ran off. I knew that he was somewhere in this corner, but without a scout, I couldn't find him. I bring a scout over to look, and unfortunately, he hit them pretty well and managed to get back around to my base. Luckily, in the corner of my eyes, I spot him. I spot him coming in. I was building a mass of knights and I wanted to go in soon, but I knew that his army was probably equal to mine or bigger. As you can see, they were way bigger, so my estimation of his army size was way off. I do my best to box him in and finish building the walls here. Now, these walls were probably not going to hold against an army of this side, but it will slow him down and allow me to somewhat slow his army movement. Here I spot his army that was hiding in my base. As soon as I saw this, I took my lancers and moved back. Yeah, not playing water here was really a big mistake. I would have had a huge amount of food, and I could have focused people on chopping wood, and then I could have just spammed the wood units. You know, like spears, horsemen, and well, not so canoes because those cost gold. So that's kind of another downside to not having archers as Sushi Legacy, is that your archers cost gold. I try to find his army, and spotting them, I go in for it, knowing that if I can kill this, I might have a better chance. After killing his army, I felt confident that I might be able to push him and take him out, because I had this many knights, and I thought that maybe I could take him down. But little did I know, at this point in the game, my army mass was nowhere near his. He secures the big gold with a castle, a keep. I think this was a very good play and I was expecting this. I was gonna do this myself, but instead I floated food. Had I had less people on food and more on stone, I might have been able to get this keep up earlier than he did. Not only that, I actually had a lot of stone in my base too. 1, 2, 3, and this is a big one too. So not only did I have the stone to build a keep, I also didn't do it. Meanwhile, his stone is actually outside his base, and he needed to mine a lot of it. He only had one in his base, and he had one outside his base. So securing this stone would have been a really good idea as well, because thinking about it now, a military school cost 100 stone. There's 1,200 stone in this, He's built 1, 2, 3, 4. 400 stone. So he basically didn't have enough for a keep had he built 4 military schools. He would have had barely enough barely enough stone, or not even just, it's not enough in general to build a keep. So controlling the stone might have been a really good play. I knew that I was probably gonna lose Imperial because the Ottoman army, I believe, is in the top 5 or even maybe the top 3 armies in late game. That is an absolute death ball and is not easy to stop. Like, they're apparently, according to pros that I've watched videos of, they say that the death ball Ottoman army is probably one of the hardest armies to stop. That there might actually not be counterplays. So at this point, as you can see, my troop is severely undermassed. But the thing is, I thought I had a lot of units. I thought that his units maybe was equal to mine or less this entire game. I had no idea that he actually had double my troop. I think that might be because of my lack of vision. I just couldn't see well into his thing. This is all I saw, which was around, let's see, 25, 40, 50, 60, around 65 units here. I managed to get through on the backside, and I raided his siege workshop. I just needed to find some damage, really. I knew that I probably wouldn't get it, so I ran off. His crossbows are really strong against my knights. I took a lot of damage against these crossbows, and he has spears too. The army composition was getting harder and harder to make. He's got Janissary, he's got crossbows, and he's got spears, all of which counters my mass of knights. The only thing my knights would win against are probably the Spahis, which he's only got a few of, and the mad-arms. At this point in the game, I was starting to lose map control, I would say. He's got quite a bit of units, and he's just not using them. Had he used them, I think I would have lost map control even faster than this. It's H3 already. It's been a while, and I forgot to secure the sacred site, plus get relics. I also actually had no idea, as you can see, I didn't build a dock, so I didn't know that there was a sacred site on this side as well. Had I checked the corner of the screen where things usually are, that's where the UI indicates that there are 2 sacred sites, then I would have known. However, in the moment, I thought that there was only 1 sacred site over here. Finally, I decided to control the sacred site, and realizing that my troop was standing right on top of it, I moved them away at one point. Because when you control a sacred site or you take it, the opponent can see your army and see what you have and see how many you have. So standing on sacred site while you're capturing it is not a good thing. Yep, here I am moving my army away from the sacred site, realizing that, yeah, he can see my entire army and he knows what he has. I mean, he knows what I have. So at this point, it was just going to be a losing game now that I realize. He's got an army that was very hard to counter. Honestly, these Janissaries, 16 damage, plus 11 on cavalry. So not only did they kill horses, they probably kill spears as well, given that they fire for 16 bloody damage. Here, he moves out, finally, to try and gain map control back. I see his army moving, and I get ready with my army to push into his. Upgrade-wise, as you can see, I'm actually behind. He quickly secures this gold with a landmark. My army runs into his. I try to find some damage. Seeing how strong this lot of army is, I backed off. His army at this point actually counters my army quite well, because my army consisted mostly of knights. His army, crossbows, kills knights, Janissary kills horses, spears, no explanation needed. Knights versus knights, even battle. And yeah, so I think that is why I lost this fight, because majority of my troops were knights, and his army composition consisted of units that countered knights. So realizing how bad this fight is, and realizing that I'm just not gonna win this game, I have no troop, and my food ran out. I barely have enough to build more troop. If he just goes a move into my base, he just wins. I'm pretty sure. So I called it GG. Right, so what can we learn from today's game? When you have map control, utilize the whole map. Had I took water and fish boomed uncontested and taken the easy stone that spawned in my base, I would have been in a better position to both build military units, overwhelm him in a fight, and build a keep on his big gold. Be ready to adapt as soon as you see new information. What do I mean by this? Well, after seeing the layout of his base and how he turtled himself into the corner, I should have stopped producing horsemen, went straight into infantry. I should have known that raiding his base of horsemen was not going to be possible anymore. Remind yourself to step back and not tunnel vision. In this game, I was so tunnel visioned into doing feudal aggro and overwhelming his base with my horsemen, palace guards unit composition. It didn't work out, and I should have taken a step back, taken a breather, and reevaluated the situation. On top of that, I was so focused in on whatever I was doing that I forgot about relics and sacred sites. If you have a different opinion or perspective on what was said in this video, please do let me know in the comments. Any critique, suggestions, and telling me what I overlooked or forgotten is welcomed and highly appreciated. See you in the next game.